Have you had an encounter you'd like to hear narrated on this channel? Well, if so, send me an email with all the details. You can send your email to contact@buckeyebigfoot.com. Hey there, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it. Now, listen. Tonight's email? Well, it's a little bit different than the ones that I usually put on this channel. I don't normally include stories with some of these elements, but I gave this a read and, well, I just felt that many of you would enjoy it and find it interesting. So with that said, grab your snackage and saddle up. It's time to head into Sasquatch Valley. Let's go. Dear Nance, thank you for your channel. I have learned so much from all the stories you have shared, and those stories have helped me connect the dots on some of my experiences. I'm writing to share with you the experience I had that led me to your channel. It is not an ordinary experience, as it's more of a paranormal nature. I hope you still find it appropriate to share, but if not, I completely understand. March of 2022 found me living in my mom and dad's house going through a divorce, and in grief as well, because my beloved mother had passed away. My dad had crossed over 4 years prior to her death. People ask me all the time if this was the house I grew up in. The answer is no. My dad was a Methodist minister, and the church supplies housing for the minister and their family. My parents bought this house after my dad retired. When my mother died, I became the executor of the estate, and I purchased my older sister's half of the house, moving back to my home state of Ohio after 35 years of living in northern Kentucky. The house is in Claremont County. It provided me with a safe and familiar place to land, since my parents had lived there for just over 20 years. Before I get into the details of the story, I need to explain what I do for a living. I am a psychic medium, a Reiki master teacher, sound vibrational master teacher, and licensed spiritual healer. I am the real deal, certified, trained, and licensed. I train every year to obtain continuing education credits to keep up my licenses and insurance. I am a member of the Federal Spiritual Healers Licensing Board, Energy Medicine Professionals Association, and the Licensed Spiritual Healers Association. I published my first book in July 2024. I have been doing this work for over a decade. My original background is in education. I have a BA in elementary education. I didn't stay in the field for long because I chose to be a stay-at-home mom for my 2 beautiful daughters, who are now in their 30s. Time flies. I am not listing all of this because I'm some egocentric person. I only share this because there are so many con artists out there who give those of us who actually are legitimate a bad name. I truly believe that we are all capable to experience worlds beyond the 3rd dimension if we allow it and work for it. I trained to put my gifts into the purpose of service to others. So, with all of that out of the way, let's begin. This ongoing experience began in early March of 2022. I had put in a very long day of work. In the morning, I had worked on writing a class I was teaching that weekend at a shop that I work from regularly. In the afternoon, I went to the shop and I saw clients for 4 hours, taught another class for 2 hours, then came home that night, arriving around 9 p.m. I got ready for bed, made a hot cup of peppermint tea, turned on the TV to begin winding down. I was very tired, and I fell asleep on the couch. I was sound asleep when I felt someone patting me firmly on the forearm. It felt like a large hand inside a leather glove, patting me through a sheet. I ignored the patting at first, thinking I was having a vivid dream. How could anyone be patting me? I live alone. The patting on my arm continued, and a voice said, "Angela, get up and go to bed." Now I was really confused. My training kicked in, and I laid there in that in-between space of sleep and wakefulness when we can easily experience other dimensions. The patting continued faster and firmer. I heard again, "Angela, get up and go to bed." Part of my brain was annoyed at being disturbed because I had been fast asleep. I laid there and I looked at who was waking me up. I did this through my third eye, also known as the spiritual eye or the clairvoyant eye. What I saw was astounding. Standing by the couch patting me was a huge figure covered in a sheet. I kid you not. Now I was really confused. So I looked under the sheet. What I saw left me speechless, astounded, and flabbergasted. Now that's not easy to do. I was born psychic and a medium, and not much flusters me. Under that sheet was a Sasquatch, a very large and wide Sasquatch who was grayish in color with dark leather hands. I couldn't see much of his face due to how the sheet was hanging, but I knew he was male because his voice and energy was masculine. I did a double take, and yes, Sasquatch. Well, that woke me up for sure. I jumped up, wide awake, and of course he was gone. I calmed myself down by wondering why the heck he was wearing a sheet, and how the heck he got into my house, and why the heck he demanded I go to bed. I had so many unanswered questions. I went to bed, but it was a long while before I was able to actually fall asleep. The next day, I called my friend Michael. We had known each other for a few years. I had met him when he came to me as a client. When I began going through my divorce, he did some work for me on the house to get it ready for me to move into. In exchange, I gave him client appointments and paid for the paint and the supplies. He and I became friends. We already had a base of trust. Eventually, we began dating. I am a lucky woman to have him in my life. I called Michael and I told him my story. However, I left out the part where I saw what was under the sheet. I told him I needed confirmation of what I saw under the sheet. He paused for a moment and then said, "Bigfoot. You saw a Bigfoot under that sheet." I laughed and I said, "I did. It was a Bigfoot." This, of course, inspired him to ask many more questions, for which I now had some of the answers. You see, I have a daily habit in the morning. When I get up, I make a cup of coffee, head out to my porch, and get out my journal. I meditate and write whatever comes to me in my journal. Some days I am in communication with my guides, archangels, my parents, etc. Other days I am not quite so connected, and I use cards to receive any guidance I need to hear. This particular morning as I sat there, a being came to me. He told me his name is Morganite, like the crystal. I had not experienced that crystal and had to look it up later. He said that he was the one who woke me up and sent me to bed. Of course, I had at least a dozen questions. He told me that he shrunk his height down to fit under my standard 8-foot ceiling, and that he wore the sheet because he was afraid that if I saw he was a Sasquatch, it would scare me. He also told me he had been with me my whole life as a guardian. He went on to explain that some of the strange experiences I had throughout my life were him making contact in a hands-off way. But now it was time for him to connect more directly with me. He is the leader of a whole clan of Sabe. I am guarded by a whole clan of Sabe. I have met several members of the clan, but not all of them. They have me on a bedtime schedule. The rule is that I need to be in my bedroom by around 11:15 p.m. every night. I don't have to be asleep, but they want me in bed by that time. They patrol inside and outside the house until dawn. It can be startling to get up in the night and see a Sabe standing in your house, but I adjusted. I love having them here. Morganite's daughter, Ruby, is about my height, around 5 feet 7 inches. I am not sure how old she is, but I would guess around 12. She has explored my house and thinks I live in the cutest little dollhouse. She's fascinated by the things that she finds in my house. She, like me, is attracted to shiny things. Last year I began making healing crystal jewelry and medicinal jewelry as part of my business. Sometimes I will feel her watching over my shoulder. She's fascinated because I can put very tiny pieces together to create something beautiful. Jamar is another member of the family. He is healing from some trauma, and he says that guarding me is helping with that. Sometimes I would see him outside, and he would say, "Keep moving, I'm not here." Then he would smile at me. The Sabe can feel my emotions. They come ready to pulverize someone if something or someone frightens me. I learned this through experience. One night after a class, I was thinking about the day and feeling very fearful for a client-student of mine who was in a somewhat dangerous relationship. She had confided her fears to me about her controlling boyfriend. I was in fear for her. The Sabe felt that fear and showed up ready for action. I came out of the bathroom and down the hall. Standing there in my living room was the largest, angriest Sasquatch I have ever laid eyes on. I nearly passed out. He was so huge he would have gotten stuck trying to walk down the hallway. I asked him, "Are you here for me?" He replied, "Not in the way you think. We felt your fear and came to save you. I have 3 more outside. I am Morganite's brother." He told me his name, but I forgot it in my fear and confusion. I then assured him that I am not in danger, but I was in fear for my friend who could be. He immediately calmed down, sent a thought message to his people outside, and explained how our connection works. He told me, and now when I say he told me, it's not a verbal language, it's telepathic, but clear as if you and I were having a conversation. But he told me that they are intuitively connected into my emotions. They base their response to my needs based on what I am feeling at any given time. I have learned to not let mental or emotional fear get a grip on me, for I do not want to alarm them needlessly. Again, I reassured him that I was in no danger and he could stand down. Shortly after, I met Morganite and Jamar. They began communicating with Michael at his home in Kentucky. Morganite gave him relationship advice and taught him a lot about me when we began dating. Michael would then tell me the things Morganite had made him aware of, and he would ask me if he heard him accurately. It was accurate every single time. It was amazing, humbling, to be loved and cared for by so many. 2 years later, after Morganite's appearance, Michael has moved in. They bend the bedtime rules a little bit since he now lives with me. Jamar still comes, but not so much. He has moved along in his healing process. I am so happy for him. All this time I have been asking to have a physical eyes 3D world sighting. I think you call it a Class A sighting? Morganite made the arrangements. One night Michael and I were sitting outside in the garage talking with our guides. I was doing some channeling, which I often do. I suddenly turned to him and said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Hear what?" I replied, "Someone just spoke my name. I heard a voice. It said, 'Hello, Angela.'" It was low and drawn out, like English is a foreign language to him. "Did you hear that?" It was to my right and close by, but I don't see anyone. Michael said, "No, but I see a large face right in front of mine. I think it's sizing me up. Do you see the face?" I said, "No, I don't. What the heck is going on?" We paused our conversation to allow me to channel an explanation. A Sasquatch who would not tell me his name came in cloaked. He told me to make up a name for him as we needed to build trust. He also told me that Morganite approached him because he needed someone in this world who possessed a territory, a clan leader, to make friends with me and to allow me to experience a physical sighting. We named him Benjamin B. Benjamin agreed to allow a physical sighting of him and said where it would be. He said it may not happen immediately, but he told us where to go. He said that when he felt it was the right time, he would show up. He would be at a distance because he did not want to instill fear. A few days later, after the rains had moved through and I had the day off, we went to the agreed-upon location. We pulled into one area to see if the bathrooms were open. We climbed out of my SUV, and Michael was looking towards the restroom, while I was looking in the opposite direction into the woods. I could see a good distance into the woods, for nothing had begun blooming yet, as it was early in March. As I looked, I saw a huge Sasquatch taking a stroll through the woods. He walked from left to right through the woods and did not look towards me. I asked him telepathically, "Is that you, Benjamin?" He answered with a yes inside my mind. I thanked him for allowing me the privilege of seeing him. He told me that we will meet again soon, and he will come closer next time. That has not happened yet. I am hoping that it happens sometime soon. My description is as follows. Remember that he was at a pretty good distance, and while I have excellent eyesight thanks to LASIK surgery, I did not see any close details. He is, in my estimate, between 9 and 10 feet tall. He is an overall grayish color with an undercoating of dark brown or black hair that I could somewhat see as he moved. I have no clue how much he would weigh, but it seemed to me that it would be a lot because he was very bulky looking. I did not see a defined waist, but a slightly rounded one. His arms, legs, and feet were huge. Remember, I saw him at quite the distance away and only from the side as he walked through the woods. His upper arms were a bigger diameter than any of the trees I saw, and they swung back and forth as he walked. I didn't really notice his head. Later, I tried to recall what his head looked like and could not remember much. I think I was just so amazed by how huge he was. We went to another part of the park to walk one of the trails, and I saw a tree bend and vertically stacked pieces of wood. The stack was anything a human could have done, not tall at all. I felt it was a sacred spot, and I left my gift of a rose quartz crystal and a prayer of thanks to the people of the forest. Michael left his gift elsewhere. After we walked the trail, we were on our way out of the woods when we felt someone behind us. We both saw a cord being attached to each of us through our crown chakras on the top of the head. We were later told by Benjamin that he could now track us through the cords. He could connect with us anywhere we are when he felt the need. The Sabe have told me there are those of us on earth at this time who are here to help them. I am one of those people, and Nance, so are you. You are helping by sharing experiences, both good and bad, that people have had with them. They listen in when I am listening to your channel. I listen when I am driving, cleaning, and especially when I am making jewelry. When I listen to your soothing voice, I am inspired to create pieces that serve others. Now I know this all sounds a bit crazy, but for me, it has become my normal. I am so blessed to have a connection with so many beings who are in other dimensions, living their lives and helping all of us here on Earth to live ours. I always tell my clients and my students that one day they will all be directly connected, and I will be out of a swell job. I love training them and seeing them blossom into their full potential. After all, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. If you would like to hear more about some of my previous experiences, I would be happy to share. They take place more in the physical world, so to speak. I hope this email finds you well, and if you felt compelled to share my out-of-the-box journey, thank you. In love and light, Angela Moore. Well, my Sasquatch, I told you this one was a little bit different, but I really liked some of the details about the Sasquatches that she gave, so I really thought this would be something that a lot of you would enjoy. I hope I wasn't wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Now listen, Angela, of course, if you've got other experiences with a Bigfoot, you know we want to hear about them, so go on, send them in. You never have to ask. All right, everyone. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight. I do, real quick, want to say I am sorry if you heard things in the background. Once again, I had cats racing through the house like it was suddenly zoomy time. And I also have the windows open. It's like 66 degrees here or something. It's gorgeous. So if you heard birds, if you heard people driving down the road or the kids walking up the road, well, anyway, that's life here in Southwest Ohio in May. There's some birds now. If you can't hear them, put headphones on. You might maybe hear them. Anyway, folks, we'll be meeting up again real soon. But until then, please always remember, absence of proof is not proof of absence. Thanks for listening.